The sky over New York was clear that morning. It was a normal day. People walked to work, children went to school, and the city made its usual noise. No one knew that everything was about to change. At 9:17 a.m., the first shadow appeared. It was not a cloud. It was sharp, dark, and perfectly shaped like the outline of a giant ship. At first, people thought it was some strange weather, or maybe a test by the military. But then, the shadow grew, and it kept growing, high above Earth. Something huge had entered orbit. It was black, smooth, and far larger than anything humans had ever built. It blocked the sunlight, turning day into night for several minutes. The news channels went crazy. Breaking news: massive object detected in Earth orbit. People stopped in the streets, staring up at the sky. Children pointed. Adults took out their phones to record. But no one could explain what it was. Then it happened again. Another shadow. Another enormous ship appeared beside the first one, then another. Within 10 minutes, 20 gigantic alien ships were hanging above Earth like silent predators. Governments scrambled to respond. The President of the United States was taken to a secure location. Military jets took off, circling the skies. But the ships did not move. They simply waited. At exactly 9:35 a.m. The world heard the voice. It came through every device: TV, radio, phone, even old radios that had not worked for years. It was deep, echoing, and strange, as if it came from inside the listener's head. People of Earth, you have been observed. You have been judged. You will comply with our law. Refusal will bring your end. The voice paused. No one spoke. It was as if the entire planet was holding its breath. Then the voice spoke again. You have 7 of your days to decide. Your leaders will surrender your control, your weapons, and your skies. You will obey, or you will be erased. The message ended. The world erupted in panic. Some people screamed in the streets. Others dropped to their knees and prayed. Some thought it was a prank. But the fear in their neighbors' eyes told them it was not. In a quiet apartment in Tokyo, a young scientist named Dr. Arya Chen listened carefully. She was not like the others. She was not only afraid, she was curious. Her mind raced. Who are they? Why now? And what happens if we refuse? Meanwhile, in London, Prime Minister Helen Graves gathered with her top advisors. Satellite images showed the alien ships covering major cities: New York, London, Beijing, Moscow, Sydney. Each ship was easily the size of a small country. No one knew their weapons. No one knew their technology. No one knew their true purpose. The United Nations called for an emergency meeting. World leaders argued. Some said to fight, others said to surrender. But no one had a plan. Then, a new sign appeared. Above every major city, just below the alien ships, glowing numbers appeared in the sky. A countdown. 7 hours, 0 minutes, and 0 seconds. 07 days. The numbers burned bright in the air like fire. No one knew how they were made. No one could touch them. But everyone understood what they meant. The clock was ticking. On the 3rd day, the aliens gave a demonstration. They targeted Earth's moon. Millions watched live as one alien ship slowly turned toward it. A beam of pale light shot from its underside. In silence, the moon began to crumble, pieces breaking away, like sand falling from a cliff. Then, in a single flash, half of the moon was gone. Astronomers screamed. The oceans began to shift. Tides grew higher. Storms formed where the weather should have been calm. The aliens had spoken without words. They could destroy a world in seconds. Fear turned to hopelessness. In Paris, crowds marched in the streets demanding surrender. In New Delhi, people looted stores, certain the end was near. In New York, the military patrolled the streets. But even soldiers looked uncertain. But in a secret lab beneath the ruins of an old research center, Dr. Arya Chen made a discovery. She had been studying the alien broadcast, the strange voice that had spoken to humanity. Hidden deep inside the signal, she found something odd. It was not just a message. It carried data patterns too organized to be random. After hours of decoding, Arya realized what it was. Coordinates. They pointed to a location far away from any city deep beneath the ice of Antarctica. Why would the aliens hide coordinates? In their own threat? Was it a trap or a secret? On the seventh and final day, with the countdown showing only hours left, the alien voice returned. Time is finished. You will now comply or be erased. Every leader, every soldier, every citizen waited to see what would happen next. But the aliens did not move. Instead, the ship stayed silent. Dr. Arya stared at the countdown in the sky. She thought of the coordinates. She thought of the strange patterns. She thought of one simple fact. If the aliens truly wanted to destroy Earth, they could have done it on the first day. So why the countdown? Why the warning? Why the coordinates? Something was wrong. Something was hidden, and she intended to find it as the final hour approached. A small group of unknown figures moved quietly across the frozen wasteland of Antarctica. Their destination, the exact location from the alien signal. The world watched the countdown fall. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 10 seconds. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 9 seconds. 0 hours, 0 minutes, and 8 seconds. In that moment, humanity did not know if the next second would bring peace or the end of everything. The countdown reached 0. Every city on Earth held its breath. Parents clutched their children. Soldiers gripped their rifles. The world waited for the end, but nothing happened. The alien ships stayed where they were, silent, still unmoving. The glowing countdown in the sky simply faded away, as if it had never been there. People were confused. Some began to cheer, thinking it was over. Others whispered that the aliens were just playing with them. The governments demanded answers, but no one had any. Then, at 10:03 a.m., the alien voice returned. It was louder this time, sharper, filled with something almost like anger. We have shown patience. We have shown mercy. You do not understand. You will understand now. The words echoed in every mind, in every corner of the earth, and then they gave their first warning. It began with the oceans across the Pacific. Strange glowing objects rose from the water. They were smooth silver and shaped like long needles. Hundreds of them. They moved with unnatural speed, skimming across the surface before diving again in Sydney. Fishermen watched in shock as one silver needle the size of a skyscraper shot upward from the waves and disappeared into the clouds. Then, in less than a minute, it began. The alien fleet targeted an object in space. Earth's moon had already been damaged by them days before. But this time, their aim was different. They turned their weapons toward Jupiter's moon, Europa. From Earth, Europa was just a bright in the night sky. But through telescopes and live satellite feeds, millions watched in horror as an alien ship fired a single beam of blinding light. Europa, a world covered in ice, cracked open like glass. The cracks spread faster than anyone could speak. In seconds, the moon shattered, its fragments spinning away into the blackness of space. Astronomers screamed. If they could destroy something that far away, they could destroy anything on Earth without even moving closer. The voice came again. Comply, or your world will follow. And then silence. In New York, panic returned instantly. Crowds filled the streets. Some people tried to flee the cities, but where could they go? Others shouted at the sky, cursing the ships in London. Prime Minister Helen Graves addressed the nation. We are facing an enemy unlike any we have ever known. We must think before we act. But already leaders were arguing. Some wanted to surrender immediately. Others insisted on preparing for war, even though they knew they could never match such power. Far away from the noise of politics, Dr. Arya Chen sat alone in her lab. She stared at the alien broadcast data on her screen. The coordinates were still there, hidden deep inside the signal. The more she studied them, the more she believed it wasn't a trap, it was a message. But who was it for? Why hide it in the threat to humanity? Arya ran the coordinates through every database she could access. They pointed to a point deep beneath Antarctica's ice, far from any human settlement. Something was there, something the aliens didn't talk about at that moment. Her secure phone rang. A male voice spoke quietly. "Dr. Chen, we know you've seen the coordinates? We've been watching too." She froze. "Who is this?" "Let's just say, we're the people who don't believe in surrender. Meet us in 3 hours. You'll be safe. Bring your data." Before she could ask more, the line went dead. In Antarctica, the wind screamed across endless white ice. A small military transport ship landed near the coordinates. Inside were 6 people, bundled in thick suits, moving quickly through the snow. Carried equipment, scanners, and weapons. None of them spoke. The sky above them was dark one. Alien ship was faintly visible through the clouds. Watching, the team's leader, a tall man named Captain Elias Ward, checked his wrist display. "We're close, less than 200 meters. They marched. On suddenly, their scanners began to beep. Under the ice, something huge appeared on the display. It was perfectly circular, at least 2 kilometers wide, buried under hundreds of meters of solid ice. Ward looked at his second in command. "Start cutting." Within minutes, the team had set up a laser drill. The ice cracked and hissed as steam rose into the frozen air. Hours passed. Finally, a dark metallic surface appeared under the melting ice. It was smooth to be natural. They cleared more ice away. Strange patterns appeared on the surface, glowing faintly blue. This isn't alien," one of the scientists whispered. Ward turned to him. "What do you mean?" The scientist ran a gloved hand over the markings. "These are human symbols." Ward's eyes narrowed. "How is that possible?" Before anyone could answer, the ground shook violently. The ice cracked. Beneath their feet, from deep below, a low humming sound began to rise. Then, a section of the metallic surface slowly opened like a door. A bright light poured out, blinding them. When the light faded, they saw a figure standing in the doorway. It was a man. He wore a torn spacesuit, frost covering his beard. His eyes were wild, his face pale. The team froze. This was impossible. Humans had never explored this deep under the Antarctic ice. The man stepped forward. His voice was hoarse, but his words were clear. "You don't have much time. They've been here before, and they'll be back to finish it." Captain Ward stared at him in disbelief. "Who are you?" The man gave a tired smile. "Name's Commander Isaac Hale. I left Earth 150 years ago." The team was silent. No one knew what to say. Hale looked up at the sky. "The warning you just got isn't the first one. The last time they came, humanity wasn't ready. And now, they're testing you again." He glanced back at the dark entrance behind him. "There's more under here, things you're not supposed to find. But if you want to survive, you'll need them." Far above, the alien ship shifted position. For the first time since arriving, it began to descend. The snow whipped harder around the team. Hale's eyes narrowed. "They found us." "Captain." Ward looked to his team. "Pack up. We're moving now." In the back of his mind, he knew there was no escaping this easily. Snow and ice slammed against Captain Ward's team as they ran from the opening in the ice. The alien ship above them was now clearly moving, its black shape cutting through the storm clouds. Commander Isaac Hale stumbled as he ran, his frost-covered suit barely holding together after decades in the frozen depths. Ward grabbed his arm and kept him moving. "Why are they coming now?" Ward shouted over the wind. "They know I'm out," Hal replied. His voice was low but urgent. "They'll do anything to put me back, or kill me." The transport ship roared to life ahead of them. The team climbed inside, dragging Hale with them. Within seconds, they were airborne, rising into the blizzard. But the alien ship followed. Its hull shimmered with strange blue lights, moved faster than anything. Human-made, closing the distance easily. The pilot's voice cracked in panic. "We can't outrun that thing." Hale turned to Ward. "Then we don't outrun it. We hide." Ward frowned. "Hide where?" "It's the middle of Antarctica." Hale's eyes glinted. "Under the ice. I know a place." Meanwhile, in Geneva, The United Nations Council chamber was in chaos. Representatives from every major nation shouted over each other. On one side were the compliers leaders who believed humanity had no choice but to submit to the aliens' demands. They argued that resistance would bring total destruction. On the other side were the resistors leaders, who believed that surrender meant the end of freedom forever. They claimed that if humanity gave up now, it would never rise again. Prime Minister Helen Graves sat at the center of the storm, listening carefully. She was torn. The destruction of Europa had proved that aliens could wipe out worlds. But something about their behavior didn't make sense. Why wait? Why issue warnings? In the middle of the shouting, a tall, cold-eyed man named General Kor from the International Defense Alliance stood and slammed his hand on the table. "They are testing us," he shouted. "Every day they wait is another day they watch how we react. If we bend, they'll crush us completely. If we stand, maybe just maybe, they'll think twice." Several delegates shouted in agreement. Others jeered, then a trembling voice cut through the noise. It was Dr. Arya Chen. She had been called to the council to share her findings. But she hadn't told them everything, not yet, I think. She began slowly. "I think they want something specific. Something here on Earth. And they don't want us to know about it." The room fell silent. "What do you mean?" Graves asked. Arya hesitated. If she revealed the coordinates, everyone would know about the hidden site in Antarctica. But if she kept silent, only a few people would have the truth. "Finally," she said, "when I analyzed the alien broadcast, I found hidden data. Coordinates. They lead to Antarctica." The chamber erupted in noise again. "Is this confirmed?" Graves asked. Over the shouting, "Yes," Arya said firmly. "And I believe it's connected to their warnings. They could have destroyed us already, but they haven't. That means they want something. And it's in that location." While the council argued, Ward's transport ship dropped low over a frozen canyon. Hale pointed to a jagged crack in the ice there, he said. The pilot hesitated. "That's suicide to narrow." "Trust me," Hale said. The ship dove into the canyon. The alien craft slowed, scanning the area, but then drifted past without firing. Inside the narrow passage, Hale slumped against the wall. Ward glared at him. "You'd better start talking. Who are you, really? And what's under that ice?" Hale's voice was quiet. "I was part of a mission long before your history books say humans went that far. We were sent to investigate an object that entered the solar system from deep space. We tracked it to Antarctica. And then I was never seen again." Ward frowned. "Never seen again because you what? Stayed there?" "Not stayed," Hale said darkly. "Taken." Back at the UN meeting, things were getting worse. The compliers demanded immediate contact with the alien fleet to arrange surrender. The resistors demanded the creation of a global defense plan. Helen Graves raised her voice. "We cannot make this decision without knowing what's in Antarctica." "I will send a team. You don't have time," shouted a complier delegate. "They've already started moving toward your cities." On the main display screen, live satellite footage showed alien ships shifting into new positions closer to Earth's surface in Antarctica. Ward's comms unit crackled with a secure transmission. "Captain Ward, this is Prime Minister Graves. I have intelligence that you are near the coordinates Dr. Chen discovered. Is this true?" Ward hesitated. "Yes, ma'am. But it's worse than you think. We found someone down Harriman who claims he's from a mission that disappeared. A century and a half ago, there was a pause. Bring him in. Immediately." Ward glanced at Hale, who was staring at the icy canyon walls. "Not so fast," Hale said. "If you bring me in, they'll track you. The compliers will hand me over before you can even ask me a question." Ward knew Hale was right. The council vote was approaching. If the compliers won, humanity would. Send a formal message of surrender to the alien fleet. If the resistors won, Earth would begin preparing for war. War it could not win without some kind of advantage. Graves sat in silence. She had to choose a side. Arya leaned toward her. "You surrender, we're finished. They'll strip our world until nothing is left. But if we can figure out what's in Antarctica before they move, we might have a chance." Graves looked into her eyes. "You're sure?" "I'm sure. Arya said. Outside the UN building, thousands of protesters gathered, half demanding peace, half demanding defiance. Fights broke out in the streets. Above them, the alien ships hovered closer. The air shimmered with strange blue energy. In orbit, something new appeared, a massive alien drone, unlike any seen before. It began descending toward the Southern Ocean, toward Antarctica. On the ice, Hale's eyes narrowed. They're sending the scanners, he said quietly. Once those reach the site, it's over. Ward gripped his rifle. Then we get there first. In Geneva, the council vote began. Graves stood and took the microphone. I vote resistor. Gasps filled the chamber. The vote tipped. By a single vote. Earth had chosen to stand against the alien demand, but the alien fleet did not wait for further talks. Above New York, one ship's underbelly began to glow. A low, rumbling hum shook the city. The first warning had passed. Now, the next phase had begun. The grand balcony overlooked the endless night of the Dominion's capital. Towers of alien steel rose like black spines against the stars, their edges glowing faintly from the lights below. She stood at the very edge, the cool wind brushing. Her face, the cube cradled in her hand like a beating heart. The air felt different now, not because it had changed, but because she had. Behind her, the council chamber was silent. The Kareth leaders, once untouchable, once the ones who had stolen her name, now waited like obedient statues for her command. Their thoughts were not their own anymore. She could feel them, each mind wrapped tightly in the chains she had. Forged. Every heartbeat they took was because she allowed it. The man stepped up beside her, his eyes scanning the horizon. It's finished, she said. She shook her head slowly. No, this is just the beginning. Below, the streets of the capital were already changing. Guards who once answered only to the council now moved under her orders. The smallest command from her rippled outward, shaping the city like a sculptor's hands shaping clay. Ships left. Not to destroy them, but to bring them under her banner. She wasn't just replacing the Kareth's rule. She was remaking it. The man studied her face. What will you do when Earth learns what you've become? Her eyes stayed fixed on the stars, searching for the one tiny point that was home. They'll think I betrayed them, and maybe they'll be right. But they'll also see that I've taken their enemy and made it kneel. And if they don't kneel to you, a faint smile touched her lips. Then they'll learn that I don't kneel either. The wind carried the sound of distant engines, Dominion warships preparing for launch. She could feel the minds of their captains like pieces on a board, each one ready to move at her thought. It was intoxicating, dangerous. She knew this kind of power could twist anyone. But she also knew she could never go back to being what she was, a nameless servant, a controlled mind. She turned away from the balcony and walked back into the council chamber. The Kareth leaders straightened as she entered, their tall forms towering over her, yet powerless. She stopped in the center of the room and let her gaze move over them one by one. You will rebuild this empire, she said, not for the Dominion, for me, and for Earth. They bowed their heads in perfect unison. She placed the cube back into its cradle, feeling its hum fade slightly as she stepped away. The man gave her a long, measured look. You've done something no one's ever done, he said. I know, she replied, her voice calm. The words spread like a spark through dry grass, carried on hidden channels and stolen transmissions. Somewhere else, a Kareth officer froze mid-step. A sudden thought blooming in their mind that was not their own. She didn't just own the council now. She was in their entire network. And the galaxy, whether it wanted to or not, was about to wake up.